Thank you. Good afternoon. This is our 4 o'clock session where I get one of the Zoco members on the couch and I get to really get to know him or her. The idea originally was those frequently asked questions. Every member has a succession of frequently asked questions that him or her are always asked. So I thought, let's turn it round. So Patricia has sent me those questions she's always asked. I will ask them to her and she will answer them. Simple as that, okay? So we'll get to know a lot more about Patricia in that way. First of all, let's talk about, so we've never met Patricia in real life, okay? Another Zoco member we've never met. We're looking forward to giving you a big hug. We're definitely hugging on the 30th of June, okay? I have seen her dance. That's all I know about Patricia, and what a dancer, okay? I don't know why you like that. You're an amazing dancer. We had a Zoom disco and she was strutting her funky stuff. So Patricia's back in, Tim back in, so lovely. Okay, lovely to see you guys. Okay, good back in. So so tell me about your networking journey first of all. So where and when have you networked up to date?
Well, pre-lockdown, it probably started in January. So I guess I'm relatively a networking baby. Mm-hmm. So because I was working in the gym the year before, so I was focused on the gym, just the clients in the gym. But then I decided, well, I want my own space. I'm going to set up my own studio near East Croydon Station, and not without any planning, just go ahead. And I realized, well, I need to start attracting people to the studio. So I decided to start networking locally in Croydon, and that's where I met the lovely Justine. And yes, then it was lockdown, and then it's let's move ourselves online. And then she said, oh, come along to this other great networking group called Zoco. I thought, why not? And voila, here I am, fully paid member and enjoying every minute of it.
Good. I love the use of the French word voila then. Very good, very good. So, okay, so Patricia, lovely. So you call yourself a movement coach. We'll come on to that, okay? I mean, these questions are great. I mean, these are questions that I would ask, absolutely. First one here, well, I'm gonna let I've been working out for 2 weeks. Why can I not see any difference then?
Well, it all depends on what you want to achieve. Basically, most people have an unrealistic expectation of what the body can do and how it's transformed. Basically, we're not built overnight. It takes 9 months to develop a baby. It takes 18 years for us to get to quote unquote adulthood. You can't transform the body in 2 weeks. But if you're relating it to sort of building muscle, well, you have to actually lay the pathways. So all the neurological adaptations, and it takes time. So you have to keep telling the body, I want you to change, I want you to change. Then eventually, maybe sort of 4 to 8 weeks later, the brain says, okay, you're providing all these stimulus to my muscles. I need to actually make it stronger, and maybe bigger, depending on the type of program you've got, because it has to handle the load you keep placing on it. And all of this takes time. So don't expect any visible results in the first 4 to 8 weeks, but you do get quote unquote stronger if you're actually measuring it. So without any sort of measuring and those all important SMART goals, you've got nothing to benchmark it in against.
And we shouldn't forget the things you've done up to this date. If you are 40, say, if you spent 40 years being inactive, doing nothing, I mean, as you well know, I've lost a lot of weight recently, and I know that I liken it to like a super tanker. It takes time for the body. Nothing happens, but once you've turned the corner and set these new routines in place, then it does happen, doesn't it?
It does. Consistency. That's the problem. People sort of after 2-3 weeks,
I hope Helen heard that, because we've synergy straight from Helen, where she used the word consistency in a brand message, and now we're talking about consistency in looking after your body.
100% consistency, even if it's just a little bit. It's like keep telling the body to keep the stimulus, and then eventually it will. So be patient, and a lot of self-care comes in with it as well, rather than berating yourself. Because, what does a naughty child do if you keep telling it off? It just keeps being naughty.
So, I mean, have you been a personal trainer? I mean, is that what you were, a personal trainer originally?
Yes, personal trainer. I call myself a movement coach. I'm sort of preempting the question. Or actually, I'm calling myself a movement mentor now, But in terms of personal trainer, yes, I don't use that term because it's just a certification, and it's just a term to refer to personalized training. So training related to what do you want to achieve. It doesn't mean boot camp. It doesn't mean sergeant major style drills. It just means what do you want to work towards, and I will help you. I'll design a program to help you get there. That is it.
Okay, now your next two questions, I mean, they kind of link together, really. I mean, separately altogether. How do I reduce the fat in my back?
When I was in the gym, I heard all sorts. People were asking me all sorts of questions. It's like, I had to say, sorry, excuse me, pardon me. As in, I'm not sure I heard right. Yes, in general, you can't spot reduce fat. So it's like, I want to reduce the fat in this bit of my arm. You can't. The fat cells do not have any nerve endings. So in order for some part of the body to be transformed, it has to have that connection to the brain to tell it to start transforming. So in terms of body fat and wherever it's stored, it's a lot of it's genetics. So if you happen to be top heavy or bottom heavy, you know, that area is always going to be quote unquote larger than the other area, even if you were to shed a load of fat. It's a case of if the body perceives it as in there's excess fat in this area and you're doing the actions that correlate to reducing fat, then the body will start shifting it from those areas where it deems to be a lot excess fat, I would say. So no, targeting muscles on your back to reduce the fat, body fat in your back is not going to, it's just not going to happen. You can build muscle, which will give the appearance that it's firmer, sort of thing. But then if you're building muscle, you're also burning more calories and burning more energy. So you will be, if your food is right and you don't have a lot of stress, you will be potentially reducing your percentage of body fat overall.
Does that the same with bingo wings? Obviously, I'm aware what bingo wings are.
Oh, yes, it's like, it's this bit which people, a lot of, dare I say, women, quote unquote. But what I'm saying is the amount here, you have, what position are we talking about? It's not as much when it's up here. We've got gravity, you know, you've got the excess skin. If you didn't have the excess skin, you wouldn't be able to put your arm up here because it needs that excess for the arm to move. So, and then it's a case of, well, how much muscle do you have up here to fill up the area, which is also an issue. And then as you get older, you lose a bit of the, you know, the elasticity in your skin to keep it all nice and tight. So if you built a bit more muscle in the triceps, it'll fill up this area, but you still need the excess skin so you can actually raise your arm.
There we are.
Another, I don't know where this term came from. I think it was like something about bingo horn, someone waving bingo card and see, you know, skin flapping or something like that. But it's just another of modern day society obsession of certain body parts and what we're supposed to look like, which is all nonsense,
really. Yes, absolutely. Okay, that's something I've learned. Certainly, that's good. I like that arm raise. Absolutely. How much fat have I got here? I've got a little bit.
Oh, yeah, raise your arm. So feel it here, and then feel it here. It's not quite the same, is it?
No. Absolutely firm, rock hard. I tell you.
Yeah.
You mentioned before as a worker. Why do you call yourself a movement mentor?
Well, it's about encouraging movement. You know, if we're fortunate enough to be in control of our limbs, our arms, our legs, our torso, because not everybody has, you know, is able to. So we need to kind of move for life and preserve our strength and mobility, irrespective of what age you are. Otherwise, things get pretty miserable or terrible if you don't. The problem is everyone thinks we're far away from old age. However, ask some senior members of society, how did they get to this stage? And they say, they don't know, it just happened. It just creeps up on you. So if you're not doing what you need to do today, it's going to get pretty challenging later on in life. But yes, all exercise is movement, and you need to actually learn to move properly or with good quality to exercise, you know, efficiently and reduce the likelihood of getting injured. So movement is everything.
And again, leads neatly onto your next question. Surely it's natural to get weaker and more stiff as you age. Why are you saying something different?
Well, for that precise point about providing the right stimulus to your muscles. Muscles are, I call them alive. So basically, it's like putting your foot on the gas pedal and taking it off. So the more you put on it, the more, keep building it. The minute you start taking it off, then you start to slow down, and then you come to like a dead stop. So it's a case of we have to keep putting our foot on the gas with our muscles to keep them active. What's it? Use it or lose it. That was it. That's the phrase. Use it or lose it. What's the other one? If you rest, you rust. So our muscles need to be worked all the time. Even if it's just like carrying, shopping, walking up the stairs, that's your legs. So a lot of people, they get quite weak, but they can't actually physically walk up the stairs without dragging themselves up the back using the banister and things like that. So everybody needs to do strength training, everyone. So be it through your manual job, keep working, do your gardening, go shopping, carry stuff, or if you're desk bound, I like that word now, desk bound daily, then you need to do some activities to preserve your muscles.
Now, talking about that, did you see Dick Van Dyke last week? Dick Van Dyke is 95, doing his workout routine.
There you go. Keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, very impressive. It wasn't the most strenuous but 95. He's pretty good. He was one of those rock up things on the floor. 95, pretty good, and he did not look anything like that.
Yeah, and plus it's a relative decline. It's not an absolute. Well, it's going to be absolute decline if you don't do anything. But yes, so I plan to be just as active now as in my 90s, and I might not be as active or be as strong. The decline will be small, but it's a relative small decline compared to people who just absolutely can't do anything and have to sit in a chair all day.
I mean, it's connected with diet as well, though. Surely, I mean, it's connected with diet as well. That's an important part of how you age as well, isn't it?
In terms of overall health, yes, but you have working in a gym, you see all sorts of people, and it's a case of some people are extremely strong, and they're fit as well, but they don't look like someone who goes to the gym type thing. So it's all about appearance. So it's not necessarily looking at people's weight, because you can be quite big. Just look at like sumo wrestlers or the Olympic weightlifters. So I'm looking forward to actually Olympic weightlifting in the Olympics. But they are pretty big people, but they don't have any problems moving as such, do they?
No.
So it's all about sort of being strong for life and being quite supple, so you can do everything you want to do.
Okay, interesting. Okay, now, I mean, as before, we discovered that Helen had a past in life insurance. Your next question: do you miss the world of finance? What was your role in finance previously?
Oh, it was the sexy topic of risk management, credit risk management. So lots of programming, lots of staring at a screen, lots of burning eyes as you can't find the error in your code. Lots of office banter. That's what I miss. But I guess we're all in lockdown, so you probably don't have that sort of banter anymore. The social aspect, but I see the people I want to see even more virtually now. I see my friends that I keep in touch with, but obviously I have a nice, lovely community here with the Zoco.
Exactly, of course. So the answer is you miss some of the world of finance.
Yeah, we won't talk about money side of things, but everything else, yes, I don't really miss finance. I don't miss the work, let's say. I don't miss.
Okay, all right. Now moving on to another question. Okay, what is a corrective exercise?
So that's what I focus on. So it's all about looking at how you move and addressing any of the imbalances that I see using a series of assessments or tests. So it's usually sort of associated with people who do sort of like strength training and lots of other sporting activities, because any imbalances or weakness increases your likelihood of getting injured. So it all stems from that. But it's also applicable to everybody in everyday life. If you have sort of joint aches and pains, if you're getting a bit more stiff or you're finding things difficult, then you can still apply the principles of corrective exercise. So it's, say, for example, squatting down, sitting and standing, whether you've got weights or not. If you feel, oh, my hip is a bit gets a bit tight, or it feels quite painful in my hip or my knees, big on his knees, you have to look at the movement function, what is involved to actually sit down and stand up. A lot of time it's like ankle and hip issues, which is a big knee problems as well. So it's looking at, okay, what's the range of motion look like on the ankles? What's the range of motion look like at the hips? If you've got a big difference between left and right, then we kind of need to rebalance that so it reduces the load on one side, restoring proper, functional movement type thing.
Gotcha. I understand it completely. Your body needs to be balanced at all times, doesn't it?
To a certain, as much as there's symmetry, it's not going to be 100%, but it just needs to be at a point where it's not causing you issues, basically.
Okay. So, okay, two kind of questions. Now, why did you call your business Holistic PT Studio? When did you set up your business?
It was February 2019. That was it. Yes, after I took a brief break from finance. Mm-hmm. It was a short break, but clearly it's more of a permanent break now. Mm-hmm. So I called it Holistic, PT for personal training, because it was always going to be a physical studio, offering one-to-one training. And the holistic part, it's because there are so many factors in our lifestyle that hinder you achieving your goals. And until you start taking all of them into consideration, you're just going to be running yourself into the ground, basically. And it also sort of delays whatever goals you're going to achieve. And also you might not achieve them, or you can actually go backwards. So it's making sure you look at, you might need other practitioners involved, because I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. You also, lots of a lot of lifestyle factors, which you also need to look at.
Mm-hmm. And this next question is great. I mean, Tim and I we resonate with this. Okay. I mean, while we don't do strength training, I tell you, Tim and I, because we don't want to get too bulky, do we, Tim? That's what we're worried about, getting too bulky, getting too muscle bound. So what's okay? Why do I need strength training? I don't want to get bulky. What's the answer there?
Oh dear, I think all of that is all stemmed from what sort of associating strength training with the image of the bodybuilder in the gym. That's the problem, that association, when we kind of need to break it, because everybody needs to be strong. If you're not strong or maintain your strength, then you'll be weak and you can't actually do everyday activities. And basically getting bulky, if you knew what these bodybuilders put themselves through, how much time, effort, energy, it's a complete lifestyle, as in what you eat, how you sleep, what gym training, how much weight. It's brutal, and most of us don't have that sort of dedication to even get 20% of what they get, of what they've achieved. So it's pretty difficult, as opposed to getting bulky, as I sort of said at the beginning, about you need enough stimulus to the body for the muscle to grow. So you need quite a lot of stimulus, basically. And yes, now I'm saying sort of disassociate strength training from the quote unquote look of bodybuilders, because you need a basic strength just to carry out your basic activities every day. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of people who don't have the strength. What is their life? What does it look like? Mm-hmm.
I throw these stories in it, and no one's ever heard. So, are you aware of Mark Wahlberg? Mark Wahlberg has a ridiculous routine. He gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and has his diary, and he does his strength training and stuff. So, yeah, that's the thing you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah. How much of that is true, I don't know, but it was posted everywhere. Yeah. But it's a 100% lifestyle. It's brutal. It's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now the next question is a very, very personal question, obviously. So what's the story? Did you used to have shoulder and back pain? How do you overcome it? What was that story there?
Oh gosh, yeah. So basically exercising all my life from school, so on and off. Basically over the years, they were just getting worse and worse. So I ruptured my Achilles. I have a bulging disc in my lower back. I've probably, what was the issue? Tendinopathy. So I didn't actually tear any of the rotator cuff muscles. It was pretty dire. And I think that's the only time I've actually cried with an injury, because it was so painful. I couldn't sleep. This is probably the only time I've actually gone to the doctors and asked for a prescription, because it was horrendous. Yes, I've noticed like knees, even wrist, practicing handstands. Don't ask me why I was doing handstands. You just don't need it in your life. So, and it just got to a point where I felt like a 90-year-old lady. Well, not the 90-year-old lady I'm going to become, but my nightmare of what I think it's like. So getting out of bed was just painful. Everything was just hurting and it wasn't pleasant. So I just kept searching, finding, working with different people, what's going on. And so I think when I actually saw the MRI of my bulging disc, that's when the reality struck. You sort of hit home saying you can't be doing all this exercise and all these brutal plans and stuff when something is obviously not right. Something in my foundation is not right. So after a while, I found someone he called himself a movement coach, hence what I call myself a movement coach. And he basically said, did lots of assessments and tests and bits and pieces. He said basically all my posture is all over the place. So we're not talking about visible, like hunching over. Is just saying there's slight imbalance. Some muscles were too weak, some muscles were too strong, some muscles were too tight. Just basically, once your alignment is off when you're lifting weights, it's like a train on the tracks, it's going to come off basically. So he was talking about sort of lifestyle and holistic approach, and he's like, well, why are you lifting all these weights? What's the point? And so I was like, well, I don't know, you just do. It was like, so it's more self-care. It's like if you feel in pain and you're still doing the exercise, why are you not stopping? Don't ask me sensible questions like that. So basically, I was looking at all the lifestyle factors like stress as well. So that's a lot of tension in my body while I'm exercising. So that exercise is a stress on the body in itself. But you want the results to be beneficial rather than more harmful. So mine was more harmful because I was quite stressed from work. And so he just explained the whole concept and told me about these other courses I need to do with movement science, and this is where I am. But it kind of comes back to not following the crowd and doing what I need to do to preserve my body and me, and taking the time out to do the corrective exercise, to look after, the way I eat, to make sure I get sleep, try not to get stressed, because, if I am stressed and tense, then all of this does get really, really tight and really sore. And then a few days later, it goes away when I remember to breathe.
Okay, so how do you stay motivated to exercise, and what's your kind of typical daily exercise routine?
Yeah, so after all of that, my approach to quote unquote exercise has all changed. So that's why I call it movement, because all exercise is movement. And it comes back to, well, what am I quote unquote exercising for? Well, I want to stay strong, I want to stay mobile, I want to make sure I'll be able to do everything I can in life to my very last day. So that's like my minimum standard. So can I still do that daily? And what's the easiest and the quickest way of doing it? So I don't exercise. I exercise rarely, but I do movements that will preserve the muscle mass, my flexibility, my mobility, and all of that. So it will literally look like, can I sit in a deep squat, as they call it, ass to grass, for a while? Because it's quite, you feel your calves start to work, your ankles start to work, the feet start to work. Moving out to that, some yoga type moves just to make sure I can still bend and getting supple, lunges, getting up and down for a floor. I spend a lot of time on the floor because most of us don't spend any time on the floor, and sort of contorting our body in all sorts of positions just to make sure I still can. In terms of moving on from that, I sometimes do, I like the TRX, I'm not sure, well, I'm not endorsing any brands, I'll say suspension straps. So it's basically using your body weight to strengthen your muscles, to use it for stretching, for strengthening, and for joint mobilization. So a lot of body weight stuff. So I have a pull-up bar, which I don't use very often, that's the problem. I love body weight strength training. So they call it calisthenics. So you see the gymnastic rings, I have some of those.
Wow.
And I go to it every once in a while. And then it's like, oh, why don't I keep up with this? Because I feel quote unquote weaker. But yeah, everything's body weight, and it's short bursts. So I don't do long things. It's just keeping the muscles active, Just
But I mean, when it comes to motivation, though, I mean, is it purely because you have a desire to be a certain way when you're 100 or 95? And how do you motivate yourself there?
yes, this is that. It's sort of, well, we are designed to move all the time, and we have muscles for a reason, and we need to preserve it. So it's like brushing your teeth. Well, if you don't look after your teeth, well, and also it doesn't taste very nice if you don't brush your teeth. So it's part of, you just need to do it. And some days I will literally walk into the room, I'll do a bit of stretching, and then I'll walk out and then have my shower and get dressed in the morning. It's like some days I don't feel like it, but I know that the body's just not going to stop overnight, as in the muscles not sort of working, but over time they will start to decline, as in your strength. And so I know if I'm feeling, I feel actually quite weak, then I will go back and do stuff. But I know that I don't need to keep doing this all the time to maintain the minimum, my own minimum standards. So everyone's different. So I'll do whatever I need to do just to maintain my minimum. But then I have sort of bursts where it's like, I want to practice something on the gymnastic rings and bits and pieces.
Are you much of a runner? I mean, where do you stand on running?
I used to run in school. I used to do cross country, so I can't believe I did that. Running in my vest and shorts in the dead of winter. I just don't know who that person was. I just don't know who the person was. I used to be running in my 20s, but then my knees were really hurting. Well, that's sort of part of the decline over the years. But now it's like, I hate cardio. I hate anything that requires me sweating. So I just do enough. So yeah, I'm not really you don't need to run. It depends why you're running. If you do run, you enjoy it, then that's fine. But there are so many activities to do. It's a case of, again, what are you working towards? What is that ultimate goal? You can run, you can swim, you can play tennis, you can play badminton. You've got the Olympics coming soon, so you've got a variety of sports. Whatever takes your fancy.
I can't believe the time. I can't believe we chatted 27 minutes. I can't believe it, honestly. We've got time for questions and stuff, so we'll move the pin. So where you go? So any questions, boys and girls? Any questions? Move pin, yeah. So does anyone have any questions?
Well, yes. Okay.
Teresa, go first.
You first, Teresa.
Yes, because we're living in an age like what you described, that we're seated all day long. We're sitting all day long.
Well, Teresa. Well, you say you're seated all day long. I think Patricia has something to say about that, don't you, Patricia? Get a standing desk.
Well, that's what I got last night. Inspired by that's what I ordered last night. By the way,
I would say gradually ease yourself into. You're not used to standing for a long time. It's like you try 30 minutes, sit back down and build up and have something soft.
And I've been doing that. I went to your channel and I did those stretches. And so it's really cool. I loved it. I can feel it. But my biggest problem is my arm. And and like when you said that there's no balance. So I do have a larger right arm than a left arm. And so I think that there must be, and it's not the carpal tunnel. What do they call it? The tunnel something.
Tunnel syndrome.
And it's just overall it accumulates here. So, just quick advice for that.
I am not a medical practitioner, but if it's anything to do with like tennis elbow, it's a strain. It's a strain on those muscles, and it's basically we're all connected. So it might be something in your shoulder.
Or here.
It's not sitting in the right position properly. It could be the wrist. It could be that RSI. Because if you were to, so every time you move the fingers, you can see the muscles sort of moving in here. So obviously, if you're on the mouse, there's all of this repetitive strain injury. So it's all connected. So it's either in the hand, the wrist, or in the shoulders generally.
Okay, so in that case, as a professional, as a mentor, movement mentor, so you would give us a program. That's what.
Yes.
So you would give us a program to follow with that specific ailment, because obviously somebody else doesn't have what I have. So how do you work with your customers?
Okay, everyone starts with, first like the consultation, just to make sure I am the most appropriate person to start with, because it could be something I have no idea about. And so I would say go and see I don't know, osteopath or a physiotherapist or a sports therapist, or go to your GP. So it just depends what's going on for you. And it's not necessarily just at the area where you're feeling discomfort, because a lot of issues with tennis elbow, it could be the shoulder complex and the wrist.
Mhm.
So if you're describing a few things and I think, oh yes, that sounds like something I can help with, then everyone starts with, I call it a movement MOT. So it's basically going through a list of movements or exercises, stretches, mobilizations, just to see where the discomfort is, what you can do, compare it left and right, so that's a benchmark. And then that will help decide what exercise to put in your program. And then I will teach you the program, and then you'll go away and do it, depending on what sort of package you go for. We might check in twice a week, once a fortnight, depends what you want, really, what you're looking for. So that's generally how I work at the moment.
Sounds very good, very, very thorough. I think you'd be impressed by my ergonomic mouse.
Oh, very nice.
Oh,
That looks something space age. It looks like
Yes, absolutely. So it fits my
ravioli. No,
fits my hand,
tortellini.
no RSI here, I tell you, absolutely. But Tim, did you have a question, Timothy?
Yeah, you've talked about your sort of own rehabilitation. I've had similar, quite serious injuries over my life: ruptured Achilles, torn shoulder, lots of other things besides. Fortunately, never a knee. There's a huge market, I would have thought, in those sort of weekend warrior types like me, who don't do any exercise during the week, sitting at a desk, and then they're over 50, but they want to play sport like they were in their 20s. I know there's a big market at my cricket club. The amount of hamstrings, calf strains, shoulder injuries from the over 40s in the last 5 weeks has been extraordinary. Could you set up a program for
how
movement?
how about Patricia rocking up an hour before the game and do a warm-up, do a half an hour stretch or warm-up or something?
Well, that was my thought. Either that or create a program where everyone could sort of, take part, that are of my age group or slightly below, that are struggling when they get on the pitch and playing like they think they're 18 again.
There is that. Yeah, that's a very good idea. The thing is, everybody's body is completely different. Mm-hmm. Where some muscles are a lot tighter, some people probably got tighter quad muscles or thigh muscles on the left versus the right. So that's my challenge at the moment. It's how do I do a group session that will address whatever imbalances you have, because I want people to focus on what's going on for them. So I sort of can give them the information. I don't mind doing like a group session, but at the same time, it's the stuff you do outside of the work we do together is where you're going to get the biggest benefit. And so in theory, even if you have a desk-based profession, you kind of need to do the necessary stretching or mobilization or strength work to counteract how you're sitting. So the fact you're desk-based and then going to play cricket on the weekend is not really an issue. It's just what you do in between, just to balance the body. But yes, happy to talk, Tim. Thanks, Nick.
Well, good. I'm conscious of time. I'm going to wrap things up now. But I mean, and you're enjoying your Zoco journey so far. I hope, though.
I am 100%. Lovely bunch of people.
Lovely bunch of
people. And the head honcho, he's not bad either.
He does his best. So yeah, 30th of June. Kind of, we're hugging, aren't we, Patricia? 30th of June.
Definitely.
Definitely. Good. Right, well, I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you so much, Patricia. Really, really good.